Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Only 25 out of 33 of the hostages expected to be released by Hamas in Gaza are alive, according to authorities, meaning that 8 of the hostages have died. The Israeli government say the families of those who have been killed have been informed. It comes as hundreds of thousands of Palestinians returned to northern Gaza after Israel opened checkpoints. Analysis of satellite images suggests northern Gaza is the most damaged part of the Strip, with 74% of buildings damaged or destroyed in Gaza City.
I can confirm that Israel has received from the Hamas terrorist organization, a list that includes the status of all of the 33 hostages due to be released in this first stage. The list from Hamas matches Israel's intelligence. So I can share with you that 25 of our hostages are alive and 8 have been killed by Hamas.
Ceremonies are taking place across the world to mark 80 years since the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau death camp. About 50 survivors returned to the site to lay wreaths and candles, and some gave speeches at a service in the camp, which was attended by world leaders. King Charles says it is a sombre and indeed a sacred moment, as he told a side event in Krakow that the responsibility of remembrance rests on our shoulders. Some 1.1 million people, most of them Jews, were murdered at the Auschwitz complex, making it the site of the largest mass execution of human beings ever recorded.
The liberation of Auschwitz is both a sombre and indeed a sacred moment. It is a moment when we recall the 6 million Jews, old and young, who were systematically murdered, together with Sinti, Roma, disabled people, members of the LGBT community, political prisoners, and so many others upon whom the Nazis inflicted their violence and hatred.
A looming trade war between the US and Colombia appears to have been averted after the Colombian government agreed to allow US military flights carrying deported migrants to land in the country. The spat erupted on Sunday when President Gustavo Petro barred 2 military planes carrying Colombians deported from the US from landing. The Trump administration responded by threatening to slap punitive tariffs on Colombian exports to the US. Rebels say they have taken control of Goma in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, although this has been denied by the government. Residents shared videos of M23 rebels patrolling Goma's main streets following a lightning advance against the Congolese army on Sunday that saw tens of thousands of people fleeing neighbouring towns. After hours of gunfire and explosions, the streets of Goma, home to more than 1 million people, are now quiet, according to local media. It comes after the Democratic Republic of Congo's foreign minister accused neighbouring Rwanda of declaring war by sending its troops over the border to support the M23. Authoritarian Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko has secured another victory in an election labelled by Western governments as a sham. The Central Election Committee stated on Monday that Lukashenko won 86.8% of the vote and that turnout was almost 87%. There were 4 other names on the ballot, carefully chosen to present no challenge to the current leadership. No independent observers monitored the vote either. The EU's foreign policy chief said the election had been a blatant affront to democracy, while the Kremlin spokesperson congratulated his close ally on his solid victory. And shares in major US technology firms have fallen steeply in value after the sudden emergence of a low-cost chatbot built by a Chinese artificial intelligence firm. The DeepSeek app, which was launched last week, has overtaken rivals, including ChatGPT, to become the most downloaded free app in the United States. Shares in chip giant Nvidia fell 10%, while Microsoft and Meta were also lower in early trading in the US on Monday. The chatbot was reportedly developed for a fraction of the cost of its rivals, raising questions about the future of America's AI dominance and the scale of investments US firms are planning. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.